Hi guys. Hey, I wanted to talk with you a little bit here about why we've been having success despite not really having a striker. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not going to be one of those like strikerless tactic type videos that you see from time to time on YouTube. I don't have a strikerless formation, at least not at the time. Might be interesting to play around with that in the future sometime, but that's not what we're doing here. The problem that we have is that we don't really have one of those star strikers. We don't have a guy who can go out and get a whole bunch of goals for us and who's going to be very consistent at doing so. So without telling you too much about it, I'll just show it to you here. Somebody was telling me the other day that they couldn't believe the view that I had in the tactics. There was some problem that they had with it. I don't know, whatever. Frankly, when I'm choosing my tactic, I'm not looking here at any of the statistics other than maybe what they've done in the last 5 games and what their average rating is. And even then, I kind of know who I want my first team to be. I know there are a lot of guys that we haven't given a chance to, and the reason why is because a lot of these guys, I mean, we'll look at one at random, a lot of these guys don't have the required ability or potential, and I don't have that much faith in them. I'm not going to just try them out of the blue. Problem is like this. Wensher Howe is our striker. He's an international, 68 caps, 10 international goals. He's had a long career. He's was this season 15 for him in his career. He's had 7 goals so far this season, pretty good average rating. But when you look at his form, you can see where the problem lies. He didn't play the game before last. Last game against Taiwan Power, he had a 6.2 rating and just did nothing. I mean, when you look back, the last time that, I mean, these are all friendlies, right? So we'll go look at the actual league. He was suspended once, wasn't selected the game after. He's had assists in the past, but the last time he scored was way back on May 9th. It's July 19th now, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games where he appeared, or 7 games overall, with no goals at all. And it's one of those things where, you know, it's a feast or famine. So we had the feast here, 3, 3, and then nothing. Right, so I mean, that's just really not going to work. We need somebody else, and we're looking around, and we've had some success, and we've had some guys who I thought were going to be good and who are not. So the question here, though, is what does that mean in terms of the tactic? Now, I've talked before about this tactic, right? The idea behind this was not really so much focused around offense as it was focused around defense. I wanted to try 3 at the back. I wanted a 3 at the back system that would work. I wanted to make sure that we had wing backs, or guys who are playing on the wings who will come back. Wingbacks are hard in Taiwan. They're hard in Football Manager in general if you're dealing with new gens, because the game doesn't create enough wingbacks. This is something that's been known for a while. I mean, it's okay. You can make your own. I have a video on that as well. You can make your own new backs. You can wingbacks. You can grab basically anybody playing in any of these wing positions and make them learn how to play in that position when they're 15, and they'll be okay in the end, right? But it is a little bit of a challenge. We have our defensive midfielder. We also have the Segundo Volante, who's Linguan. I've talked about him before, right? The idea behind him is that he comes up and he comes into the penalty area, but he's man number 4 up there. He comes in a little bit late, and he kind of confuses the defense by coming in late. We'll look at these one at a time, right? So we have on the right side here, the advanced playmaker on the support duty. And so the playmaker, of course, he's going to drop into these holes that are available. He'll make himself available to his teammates, and he'll try to be in the right position after we win the ball to be able to set guys up. You see what he does here. He sets guys up with a pass and then is able to move the play forward. As you can imagine, that's really powerful when you have Linguanda coming in behind him, in theory, potentially unmarked, coming into like this position up here, while Silla goes maybe, say, here on the right side, or goes up forward a little bit or something like that, right? You can see how powerful and intense it is. We have him playing on the right side simply because Linguanda's on the right side. You could probably flip this over. Doubt it would make much of a difference. And Daye over here in the shadow striker role has a position that is designed to be a goal-scoring threat. He is a goal-scoring threat. He scored in our last match, as you saw earlier today. 9 goals so far this season. He's our leading scorer. We'll probably end up getting the most goals of the season. Now, the nice thing about the shadow striker is that he plays further deep than your forward, of course, which is why he's sort of in that position. But as you can see here in the description video, he can also move into that striker role. Most of the strikerless tactics I've seen will use shadow strikers like this, and probably have like 2. I've seen 3 of them as well in some. I think there was a Knapp tactic from like 2 years ago, right? So, and the reason why that works is because these guys basically will play in that striker role, but it confuses the defense, especially the Football Manager computer-controlled defense, because they're not a striker. They're not in that striker position. The defenders don't really have a guy to mark, and it's not clear if the defenders need to move up to mark the shadow striker, or if they need to sort of like hang back and make a sort of protective wall. And so in some situations, you can see a strikerless formation end up with a very, very large amount of goals because you're basically confusing the game. And then 4 up front, because we're trying to do something that's somewhat realistic, we do have the advanced forward. Advanced forward is a difficult role to play because you're supposed to be both doing attack and you're supposed to go back on defense. You're supposed to, as it says here, chase down misplayed through balls or clearances from deep, win back possession. Basically, he's doing the same sort of thing that we would expect Scylla to be doing a little bit further back. That's the thing that's so hard about that advanced forward role. Another difficult role, by the way, is the complete forward role, which is even harder because you actually have to play defense. There are very, very few players who can do complete forward right, if you end up playing around with that. For our purposes, advanced forward is fine. I could see doing a system like this where you would have a false 9 and have 2 shadow strikers behind and just have the false 9 sort of be the guy who's playing a little bit further back. That's another variation on a theoretical strikerless formation because you got a striker who's playing up here, but he's not really playing in the 9 position. I don't have to explain that to you guys. Most of you guys are from the UK, right? For us Americans, we're like, I didn't know that, why is it these positions had set numbers? It's so bizarre. But anyway, even though it happens in American football too. The thing about that false 9 position is that, you pull yourself back a little bit, and again, you open up natural holes in the defense because you give the defenders a problem to worry about, right? They're worrying about, okay, so do we play further back? Do we keep a sort of a deep and low line, assuming that the striker is going to try to beat us, or do we go back forward and do we play with him? Well, if you're playing in a false 9 role, yeah, you bring the defender up forward, but your goal is not to turn around and attack. Your goal is to look for Ndaye coming up here, or maybe Scylla if he's on an attacking role coming up in the other side, try to get those guys from the side, or again look for Lingwanda coming up and try to get a pass over to one of those 3 guys and set it up that way. There's probably an argument we can make that Winsher Howe might actually be good at that role since he's not really good at much else. He had a really bad match last time, and we may need to think about moving on with him. So Poacher, as we see here, is the role that he likes to play. We'll take a quick look at that role as well, and where that would theoretically fit in. And the idea behind the Poacher is that you're sitting basically back on the shoulder of the last defender. You're sitting back as far back as you can. As you can see over here on the little video that's down there, you kind of hang out and try to not really play much defense, but you keep yourself in a potential attacking position. And then when the attack comes, or when you can see that the defense is played incorrectly and that you have position to move on the back, you run back and look for the ball and just score. And you're spending most of your time standing right over there near the goal. We're not going to put anybody in the Poacher role here. I don't really think there's that much need for it. And I do want to make sure that we have strikers that can come back from time to time. But I don't know. I mean, if nothing else works, and if we're kind of forced into it, we may end up having to put Winsher Howe in a Poacher role, hope that he can play a more familiar and comfortable role and score a few goals for him. Now, Poacher, if I recall correctly, is best sort of playing together with another defender. You need probably a target forward, maybe on support duty, something like that. So you have somebody who's playing a little bit further back, ready to catch the ball. In fact, you can see that here in this description, right? The target forward is the guy who's got the other circle behind him. And you would say the other guy's the Poacher, just judging from how he's playing. And so the Poacher will always be there in an attacking position, just waiting for the ball to come. Target forward will step back and, sort of wait for things to come up for him. This is there we go. It's a better example of it right there. I was looking at the wrong thing. We're not going to change this here, though. We're going to have him continue to be the advanced forward for us. And anyway, there you go. That's basically what the idea is. That's the thinking that's gone behind the attacking part of this tactic. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science. As you can see, I'm not using some sort of like in-game exploit or something like that. I understand what the positions are meant to do and how they work together. If you watch all these videos together, you kind of get it. Really, these wingbacks are intended mostly to be like defensive roles. They end up being part of the attack because they're on the support role. It's a good thing and a bad thing. There are times where I think maybe we should move them up forward and have them play on an actual defensive role, but we haven't been losing, so we're going to keep doing this. That's just the way it is. That's the way you do it with the tactic. It's more than just take something that's pre-built and do whatever. I mean, it's worth it to take the time to look, see what other people are doing, think about how you want it set up, and then sort of create the type of play that you want to create, the sort of thing that you want to see. I think that this is a lot more fun to watch than watching the thing that we had in American Samoa where we were lumping the ball forward all the time. That wasn't so much fun. So we'll see what happens as we move along with this long, endless save. We'll probably have different tactics and we'll have different approaches. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'll have more videos like this to make for you. I will talk with you again later. Take care. Bye.